And we are live. Welcome, guys. Happy Tuesday. We have a nice 7-game slate to talk about here. News-wise, things obviously changed from last night with Golden State resting a majority of their players. So that obviously changes, again, the slate entirely because now Golden State is a team that obviously looks pretty appealing. They're already in a good matchup, and they're very, very shorthanded. I can scroll down. They have 9 available players here. One sec. Yeah, so we have Peyton, Poole, Moody, JTA, Looney, Chioza, Damian Lee, Witherspoon, and Kuminga. So Warriors definitely shorthanded. I expect all 9 players to play, obviously. Other news, we're still waiting for some pretty big ones, right? Jokic is still questionable. That can definitely flip the slate on its head. Harden expected to play. We got those Suns guys with a midday upgrade to questionable. We're still waiting on Brandon Ingram news. So yeah, there's still a decent amount that we are waiting for. But if you guys do enjoy this Q&A live stream, just make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Again, putting out a ton of content right now. Prize Picks content, Top Shot content, DFS content, obviously, videos, live streams. So I'm trying to put out as much as I can. Hope you guys enjoy. And yeah, leave questions in the chat. I'll do my best to answer everyone's. So let's do it. Let's see, Warriors. Yeah, I know we're all super excited to load up on the Warriors and somehow get Steve Kerr. Jimmy Butler and Cole Anthony or Ant-Man and Kuzma. Yeah, that's a pretty good question. I'm going to say the second one, but it's close. Obviously Kuzma gets a pretty big bump without Brad Beal there. Only real risk, I think, is the potential for a blowout. But, the Jimmy Butler, Cole Anthony one looks good, too. Do you think Spurs will blow out the Warriors? Not worried about the Warriors. No, because let's take a look at what do we got. It was the Warriors were only like 3-point favorites, and they were already somewhat shorthanded, right? No Clay, no Draymond before we got the news. I'm guessing the Spurs are now favored, but I don't think they're going to be favored by a ton. Let's see. Yeah, so the Spurs are only 5.5-point favorites, so I'm not really worried about it. The Spurs are not a great team, right? This is not like the Bucks or the Suns, right? This is the Spurs who are, maybe a play-in team at best. Yeah, I'm not really worried about it. Kyle Kuzma season, yeah, he's firmly in play. He is definitely in play. There's still a way that Poole can fail, right? We saw, when was it? I always lose track of time. I think it was about 3 weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, where you had a lot of players out for Golden State, and Jordan Poole was massive chalk, and he shot 1 of 13. I think he finished with low 20s fantasy points. So it's possible that he can fail. He's not 3K like Drummond was last slate. It's unlikely, but if Poole shoots really, really bad, he can definitely, not get your value. So I don't necessarily think he's an absolute must. Yeah, we'll see what they do the starting lineup. But I think, all the main guys look pretty good. I think the likes of Quindary, Witherspoon, and Chioza, I might be a little bit more hesitant about because those guys have just been not in the rotation unless it's a massive, massive blowout. But the other 7 guys, I think all look pretty good. Cole Anthony, Hero, Pirtle, or Bobby Portis. I think your safest bet is probably Pirtle. Now, I was actually talking about this a little bit in my premium Discord. Pirtle is priced up. He is this is one. I think this is the priciest he's been. He's been playing really, really well. And again, I do like the spot here for him, but you are paying a premium. So I think he is your safest bet, but also you're not getting a discount on him. Do you think Kumbuck is starting? Yeah. So for the Warriors starting lineup, again, they can do so many different things. But my guess is Jordan Poole, Gary Payton, Lee, Kuminga, Looney. That's my guess. But there could be a lot of combinations. JTA could start at the 4. We could have Moses Moody start. He started last game. He could very easily start. So that's my guess for the starting lineup. But again, you never really know with Steve Kerr. But if I had to say which way I lean, I would lean towards Kuminga starting. Thoughts on Cunningham? I think he's a good tournament play. He's been very up and down. We do have Jeremy Grant back. I don't really know if it affects Cade too much. Obviously, Jeremy Grant is one of the higher usage players on this team, but it's not like we're going to get, a lot of ISO Jeremy Grant action. So I think Cade's fine for tournaments. He's not going to be super popular. We know the ceiling is there. The floor is there too. He's one of many players I cannot get right. Like I play him. He fouls out in 21 minutes here. Fade, 70 fantasy points. So he's been up and down, but the ceiling is there. So I think he's firmly in play for tournaments. Yeah, I think so. We don't have Brandon Ingram news yet. We did get Josh Hart out. If Ingram's out too, I mean, they're going to definitely run their offense through Jonas Valanciunas, and it's a pretty good matchup here against Detroit. As of right now, you have Dinwiddie, Poole, Ant, Kuminga, JTA Payton. Yeah, okay. Yeah, only thing I'll say about Ant, another guy that I don't think I've gotten right this year. He's up and down, right? The ceiling's there. He still has a floor. Now, again, with D'Angelo Russell most likely not playing, that is more usage for Ant and Karl-Anthony Towns. Thoughts on Hayes? I need to see what the Pelicans are doing in the starting lineup. If Jackson Hayes starts, then I'm fine playing him. If he does not start, then I'm probably not going to go there because then I don't know if we're getting back in 5 minutes for Hayes, back in 5 minutes for Hernan Gomez, or does Hayes just go to a DNP? I think they started Hayes because the Cleveland front court was pretty big, but yeah, I think I would have more confidence if he starts. If he does not start, I'm definitely worried. Yeah, I think Gary Payton looks good. Whether or not he starts or comes off the bench, would have a little bit more confidence if he starts, but I still think he's a guy that probably gets at least 20 minutes. And we know he's not a bad point per minute guy, a guy that can kind of do it all. A good defender, obviously. They're probably going to use him a lot on DeJounte Murray, is my guess. Without Andrew Wiggins, without a guy like Otto Porter, two pretty solid defenders. Out Klay Thompson, who's still a solid defender. They don't have many good defenders left in this team, right? Jordan Poole, not a good defender. Damian Lee, not a good defender. So I think Gary Payton is a guy that they're probably going to use a good amount on a guy like DeJounte Murray. As far as pay-ups, Murray, yeah, I think both those guys look pretty good, right? With the Suns guards, Chris Paul and Devin Booker have been playing almost 40 minutes a game. So I have no issue going there. Obviously, DeJounte looks good against the Warriors. You got to make some tough calls at the top. This is not like last slate where we had no good spend-ups. There's a lot of good spend-ups, right? If Jokic plays, he looks good. We have Giannis against the Wizards, who have not been good defensively. We have Harden, who's going to play big minutes. You talked about Murray and the Suns guards. So, it's basically the opposite of last slate, where there's actually a lot of good spend-ups. You got to make some tough calls. Yeah, I think Kyrie's definitely viable. I always have a tough time trying to differentiate him with Harden when they're about $1,500 apart, and that's exactly where they are, because obviously Harden has a little bit of a higher floor, higher ceiling right now than Kyrie, but Kyrie is cheaper and still does have a ceiling. So it's to a point where I don't really have a strong take on which one of these Nets guys I prefer. DeRozan and Ant-Man enough studs to win 400-man with mid-range around them. It'll be contrarian. I don't know if that's the direction exactly that I want to go, but I don't hate either. DeRozan's in a good matchup there against the Magic, and Ant-Man without D'Angelo Russell. Again, the floor and ceiling do go up, but he can still hurt you, right? Last game, he got some ownership. Awful game, 25 fancy points. But the game before, 61, right? So, he's kind of been all over the place recently, Anthony Edwards. So, definitely not someone I would go to, I don't think, in a cash game. Jimmy or Booker? It's a pretty good question. I think Jimmy's a little bit safer than Booker. Booker is priced up a good amount, but again, it's because he's playing huge minutes right now, and the Suns are still shorthanded. Again, we'll keep an eye on Ayton and Jay Crowder, but I think the floor is a little bit higher on Jimmy Butler. I think the ceiling is pretty similar. Jimmy can break a slate. I think he has a little bit of a higher floor. But both have a pretty similar ceiling, in my opinion. Let's see. Adebayo, Kuzma in tiers. Another tough one. I think the upset's a little bit higher in Kuzma if the Wizards can keep the game competitive. So I'll say Kuz, and fingers crossed that the Wizards don't get blown out. Caleb Martin out of play. I don't think he's out of play. I just think we had to keep an eye on the starting lineup. So if Martin starts along, also we had to keep an eye on, I believe PJ Tucker is still questionable. So if Tucker's out, they could still start Martin. Like they might have a starting lineup of like Vincent, Robinson, Jimmy, Martin, Bam if there's no Tucker. So no, he's not out of play. He doesn't look as good as Jimmy Butler back, but if PJ Tucker's out and he starts, I think he's still a pretty decent value play. Oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get Steve Kerr too. I like JTA. I like basically all the main guys for Golden State. All the main guys that have been getting, minutes. So basically outside of like Witherspoon and Chioza, we saw Moody pick up the start. JTA, Lee, Peyton, Kuminga, Looney, Poole. Those are all guys that I think look pretty good. Vooch revenge, no issue going to there. My only concern with Chicago is, you never really know who's gonna have the big night between Vooch, DeRozan, and Levine. So unless like one of those guys is very underpriced, I have a hard time feeling super confident. But I think like all three of the main guys are in play because the Magic are not a good defensive team. So Vooch, DeRozan, Levine all look good. The only problem is trying to figure out, all right, who is the guy that can really, have that upside? And it kind of, fluctuates. Some games it's Vooch, some games it's DeRozan, some games it's Levine. So I don't know if I go to any of those guys in a cash game format just because, you never really know who it's going to be on a night-to-night basis. Yeah, good question. How many Warriors? I think you could get 5 if you really wanted to. But that's probably the max. Carter Jr. is kind of a play I'm indifferent on. I'm expecting, I would say, around 30 minutes, I think is a pretty fair guess. Last 4 games, 28, 31, 29, and 33. So I think around 30. Just kind of a neutral play. It is a revenge game narrative. If you are into that, if you're a guy that loves the revenge game narrative, then sure, maybe give him a slight boost. I don't care about revenge narratives at all, but I think he's kind of just a neutral play. Not going to prioritize him. Lands on my lineup. Sure, that's fine. Anthony, Carter, and Okeke all okay together. In my opinion, it's too many Magic. Like the Magic have been kind of spreading out the rotation a little bit. I don't think I want to play 3 Magic together. 4,600 for forward. Kuminga. Playing Kuzma, Dinwiddie with Giannis run back and Warriors value. I think that's totally fine, right? Because that makes some sense if you're going to play Kuzma and Dinwiddie. Because, okay, if the Wizards keep this game competitive, you kind of know why. You know why. And if the Wizards game does stay close, you're getting full minutes from Giannis, which is a positive too. So if you're playing Kuzma and Dinwiddie, you don't have to run it back with Giannis. You definitely don't. But it does make some sense. It does make some sense to do that for tournaments. So I like it. I think that's a good idea. Let's see. Just see if we have any more news. Yeah, I think Kuminga looks pretty good. We feel a little bit better about him if he starts, but either way, I would think with a 9-man rotation, he's probably getting at least like 20 minutes. So yeah, we're getting some news for Wednesday. Ingram game time decision. Okay, so like I said, we still need that news. If Ingram's out, those Pelicans guys besides JV are going to get a bump, those secondary options, and then again, we'll see what they do with the starting lineup. Yeah, I think Thomas Bryant's fine. I'm assuming he starts because they said they wanted to start him the next few games. Now, with a guy like Thomas Bryant, he's very cheap. He's very cheap, and I think assuming he starts again, that we're going to get, I don't know, low 20s minutes. So I think he's a pretty decent value play. Teams to fade? Teams to fade. Let's see. Is there one team I don't really like? I guess the Pistons, probably my least favorite team to target on the slate, right? And it's just because they're basically fully healthy. And some guys are priced up from when a lot of these guys are out. Like we have a Olynyk back with Jeremy Grant back. So probably my least favorite team, I'll say, is the Pistons at the moment. Yeah, Beverly or Peyton. So we'll monitor news with that one. So Beverly is expected to play. Now he hasn't played in, I want to say it's been like 2 weeks, 119. Yeah, so almost 2 weeks. If we get confirmation he's starting and there's no limitations, then I think he's a pretty good play. If he's going to be limited, then obviously I would rather go to Peyton. And with Gary Payton, again, I'm going to feel better about him if he starts. There's kind of some if-thens there with Beverly versus Payton. If there's any type of limit on Beverly, just go Payton. If they both start and there's no limit for Beverly, then I think it's pretty close. Because I think we get around 30 minutes from Beverly and probably at least like 20 to 25 from Payton. Which would you drop out of the three of Magic, Anthony, Carter, or Kiki? Let's see. I mean, Okiki's been playing relatively well of late, but I think Okiki would probably be the guy because Carter Jr. and Cole Anthony can break the slate. They do have upside. I don't think Okiki's really going to break the slate. New to the channel, new to daily NBA in general. Oh, hey man, welcome. Let me know if you have any questions. Appreciate you being here. Martin or Peyton if I already have 3 Warriors. Again, it depends on the starting lineup for Miami. Right now, I'll say Peyton, but it's a little bit hard to say without knowing lineups for both teams, right? We don't really know who's going to start for Golden State, and I'm not sure. We need to keep an eye on PJ Tucker news for Martin. I think I would probably only play Martin if he starts. If he does not, if PJ Tucker's in, and then I'm probably not going to get to a guy like Martin. So then I think Martin goes back to like maybe 20 minutes off the bench if PJ Tucker's in. Thoughts on James Johnson? So, he's probably the one Nets Valley guy off the bench that I have interest in. With Steve Nash's rotations, there's been, times this season, like a couple weeks ago, where James Johnson's been getting almost DNPs. But now it seems like he's back to like playing 20 to 25 minutes off the bench. We know he's a decent rebounder. We know he's a guy that can kind of stuff the stat sheet, right? We saw 2 games ago when everyone was out for the Nets, he almost had a triple-double. So he's probably the one guy I look to if I'm going to target a Nets value play. Yeah, I do have some interest there. Noel, if Beverly's limited. My only issue, I don't think so because they started McLaughlin last game. They have Beasley. I just think they're going to go the hot hand situation if Beverly's limited, and I don't think it's worth it when we have Golden State Warriors that we're like guaranteed minutes. DeMarcus Cousins, we'll see on Nikola Jokic news, right? If Jokic is in, then Cousins is just a tournament player, right? Because he's just going to play the back of 5. If Jokic is out and Cousins is in and he's starting, well, yeah, get as much boogie as you can. DFS Sports First, what's up, guys? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Keep up the good work with all the content. I know this is random, but do you have a favorite NBA team? Well, I mean, I'm a Pistons fan, so the Pistons are my favorite team. But yeah, right now it's kind of been rebuilding mode for a while. Yeah, I think Poole the Warriors look good. I'll have no Ingram, then Valanciunas signing me. Yeah, JV is going to look pretty good there without Ingram. And then we'll see what they do the starting lineup. I think the Pelicans can do a couple different things. They could start the Twin Towers again with Hayes and Valanciunas. They can move a guy like Garrett Temple, I think probably starts. So yeah. Again, guys, if you're just coming in, make sure to hit that like button. We're at about 30 likes, 100 concurrent viewers. Appreciate you guys, as always, checking out the live stream and interacting, asking some questions. Yeah, JV looks good, right? Because the Pistons, they've not been a good defensive team. Whoever's out there, really, whether it be Isaiah Stewart, whether it be Lyles, whether it be Kelly Olynyk, none are really good defenders. So I think Jonas Valanciunas is in a pretty good spot. No, Kuminga, in my opinion, will still be in play off the bench. The minutes would be a little bit more in question, but again, it's a 9-man rotation, and how much we see from Witherspoon and Chioza is kind of up in the air. So, think about Golden State's roster, right? They're a little bit more loaded at the guard position right now. Their bigs, they don't have many bigs/wings, right? If you just look at who's available, Looney's a big, Kuminga's like a big/wing, and JTA is like a big/wing. And that's really it. It's all a bunch of guards, right? Poole, guard. Peyton, guard. Lee's a guard. Moody and Witherspoon are guards. Chioza's a guard. So if you just look at the team makeup, they're thinner in the front court. So, if we're just guessing minutes, Looney's going to start and play around 30 minutes. And then it's all right, so that's 18 minutes of the backup five at least going to either Kuminga or JTA, and then you need some minutes of the four, right? I think one of those guys could play the three for a bit. So I think we're going to see some pretty decent minutes from Kuminga no matter what, but I feel a little bit better about him if he starts. Large field tournaments have been struggling lately badly. I mean, you can take more risk in large field tournaments, I think. So you don't have to play as chalky of lineups. You don't have to play a lot of the chalk. And it depends. Are you building one lineup versus a lot, like multiple lineups? But yeah, for me, I'm not really a big large field tournament player. I'm not an MME player. I play one lineup, so I might not be the best person to ask for it, just because I play kind of chalkier lineups. But I just know, like, for large field tournaments, you can take more risks, and it depends how many lineups you're building, right? DeJounte Murray or James Harden? It's a pretty good question. I think it's pretty close. I think right now it's almost a toss-up for me. I don't know if I have a strong lean. Both, in my opinion, look pretty good. What is Denny? Why is Denny's ownership high? I don't look at ownership, but is he going to be popular? If Denny's going to be popular, then like I'm okay getting away from a chalk Denny. He's a guy that I would think sees 25 to 30 minutes in the spot. Now he still has a floor. He can still hurt you. And if a lot of people are going to go his way, then like I'm okay not having him. 4,500. Yeah, I would go Kuminga in that spot. Kelly Olynyk, probably not in this slate. I think, he's a good point per minute guy, and minutes, I don't really know in his first game back, so I'll probably wait just to see, if there's going to be any limitations on him or whatnot. So I don't know if I go there on this slate. Stars and scrubs approach for Cat. Yeah, I mean, there's just like a lot of value. So I think that's the better build in my opinion. Kispert a little bit. The only issue with like these secondary wizards is they can go a lot of different ways here, right? Like, yeah, Beal's out, but they're still pretty loaded. Like, you're going to see probably close to 48 minutes from Harrell and Bryant, right? They're going to split the 7 minutes. You're going to see, 35-ish from Kuzma and 35-ish from Dinwiddie. KCP is going to start and probably play low 30s minutes. So then that doesn't leave, like, there's not a ton of room for a lot of these guys. Like, Denny, I would say mid-20s minutes. They have Rui Hachimura, Kispert. Neto probably sees the court. They have a lot of guys that can still get run here. So, like a guy like Kispert is, pretty scoring dependent. And I think I'm a little bit more confident with the minutes for those Warriors guys. This is they're more shorthanded. Toscano, I like Toscano. Yep. Either way, I think he's going to get some decent minutes. The only downside with him is he's only center eligible. Yeah, Paul versus Booker. So, I have interest in both, but I think it's basically my same breakdown every time with these guys. They are priced up for sure, but assuming that there's no Ayton and Crowder once again, they're probably going to see about 40 minutes. And I don't even know if Ayton and Crowder playing would affect their minutes too much. I mean, maybe they lose a couple of minutes because that's just one more like wing Jay Crowder in the rotation. But so I think Chris Paul has a little bit of a higher floor between Booker and himself. Both have a ceiling. Like, we've seen pretty big games from Chris Paul, but like the massive ceiling is there for Booker. So of the two, I think Chris Paul's safer just because he has, more than peripheral stats. And I think if you want that like massive upside, it's Booker. Like, Booker can go for like 70 plus, right? He does have that type of upside. 71 here, 67 here, but a little bit of a lower floor, I think, than Chris Paul more often than not. Just because he's going to be a little more scoring dependent, where Chris Paul is going to handle the ball more. Philosophy when it comes to building single entry lineups. Yeah, I guess it can change on, a night-to-night basis, but a lot, I would say a majority of the time I'm playing a decent amount of the chalk and looking to take some shots in a couple lower owned guys. Like, I'm not trying to get crazy because I play the smaller field stuff, single entry, so I don't have to take massive risk. I look to try to get to maybe one or two guys I think are, going to be lower owned that can provide me an edge. Or maybe I fade, say there's 4 really chalky plays in the slate. maybe I only play 2, or maybe I only play 3, right? Maybe I don't play all the chalk. Maybe I take a shot on like one lower owned guy. So I usually don't go too crazy. I don't like fade all the chalk. I don't like just go like all risk, right? I'll usually play still a decent amount of chalk and look to try to get to a couple lower owned plays that I think are going overlooked. Yeah, Denny's not a fun roster. I've rostered him a few times. I don't think he's ever come through for me. You think Booker, Carter, and Kuz? Carter. Oh, Wendell Carter? Again, I'm kind of indifferent on Wendell Carter. I know we got asked a couple times. I think he's just like a neutral play, but Kuz looks good. Booker has the ceiling. You playing Kuz, LOL. I haven't built my lineups yet, but I do think he's underpriced if the game's is competitive, right? The risk you have with those two Wizards guys is blowout. Kyrie, yeah, I think him and Harden both look pretty good. I don't have a super strong lean on which one I prefer there. Yeah, right now I don't think I'm going to play Tyler Hero. So I was talking about this in the Discord. I would like to congratulate in advance Tyler Hero for 50 fantasy points tonight, since I'm getting off him and since he shot 10% for me once again last night. So congratulations in advance for Tyler Hero, 30 real life points and 50 fantasy points tonight. Congrats. Listen to the deal, Dave asked, but do you think? But who do you think should be the NBA All-Star reserves? Yeah, good question. I don't have a good answer. I haven't really looked into it too much for both teams. So I'm not super prepared to answer that. Chalk today. Yeah, Warriors are going to be chalky. Chalk plays you could see yourself playing. Warriors. You know, I definitely think like you can get contrarian, but like, for example, if you faded all the Warriors tonight, I think you're just making a mistake, right? You can get a little bit risky and maybe go underweight, but like full fading a team that is super thin in a good spot, that's a situation where I think you're making a mistake. And it's not like these Warriors guys are expensive either, right? Because you have the highest price guy I think is Poole at 5.5, right? Yeah, so it's like, even if these guys have a really bad game, you're probably still getting a couple Warriors in the winning lineup. Yeah. Like Wiggins, again, he's a nice role player for Golden State. A nice role player. He's not an all-star, and by no means is he an all-star starter. He's a good defender. He knows his role. You know, number 3, number 4 guy on the Warriors. So, yeah, I completely disagree with him being a starter. He's had a good season. But he's not an all-star in my opinion. Kyrie and Paul, or Murray and Paul. So Kyrie versus Murray. I think a small lean to Murray over Kyrie. Best Warrior? It kind of depends on the starting lineup, but I don't know if there's a best one. I will say I think the guy with the most upside is probably Poole. Right? Because he's a guy that he's had some big games, even with the Warriors being fully healthy. And now it's basically him and a lot of the end of the bench guys. So, like, I don't think he's a must, but he's the guy that I think could really break the slate. He could go for, like, 40 plus tonight. The only thing with Butler is the amount of games, right? He has not been healthy this year. But, yeah, Miami has still been winning games with a thin roster, which is pretty impressive. All right, guys, anything else? Last minute questions? I can stay on for another minute. Let's just refresh to make sure we're updated and everything. Otherwise, I think that's going to wrap it up for me. Jeremy Analytic will play, okay. Poole looking like I don't think there's a lock, but again, I think he's the guy that has the most upside for what's worth. I didn't, but I think it's an interesting idea. Maybe I'll turn it on tonight. We'll see. I think, you know, that the NBA red zone, the crunch time is an interesting idea. I don't think it's going to be as popular as NFL, but yeah. Yeah, Paul and Vooch or Towns and Levine. I'll say the first one. Kuminga and Poole have the most upside. Yeah, I mean, both. You know, Kuminga's had some pretty big games too. Like Harden, don't think he's a must, but should play big minutes. And it's going to be him and Kyrie, you know, kind of doing everything for the team. just because it's Steve Kerr, right? Just because Steve Kerr is his coach. Okay, guys, I'm going to call it on that. Good luck tonight. Hopefully we have some big winners, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow.